Hi, it's Sheridan Webb here from the Training Designers Club, which is the place to go for practical L&D support, especially if you work on your own. And in this video, I'm going to attempt to answer, at least in part, the question that does turn up quite often around how can we keep people's attention and focus during a training session. This is something I think that challenges all of us, particularly obviously when we're running live sessions, whether they're in person or virtually. And of course, it's a challenge if you design e-learning as well, because there's no one even there to try and keep people focused on what it is they're supposed to do. Now, in the last few weeks, I took a rare trip into the training room myself. I've been delivering some workshops and they were face to face. And I've also had associates delivering some virtual workshops for me. And it really reminded me that when people are arriving, obviously everyone's on their phones, they're trying to finish phone calls, they've just got an email to send. We've got issues with schools potentially. So I remember myself, sending my kids into school. They said they don't feel particularly well, but I'm running a course or something. So CalPol them up and send them in anyway. But obviously my brain is always worrying about what if the school call, because people have lives outside of work, and it's not just kids. There's all sorts of things going off. And all of these things are on our minds. And it means that we perhaps aren't quite as present with the training as we should be. Certainly our delegates aren't. And you know what? That's just life. And especially when you're delivering virtual training, because even though we invite and indeed encourage people to switch off Teams and WhatsApp notifications and all the rest of it, it's like we're addicted to it now, isn't it? I mean, and I'm no different to everybody else. If we're not contactable, the world's going to end if we don't respond to a message immediately that it comes in. So we're always on the lookout, and we're making ourselves susceptible to the distractions that are out there. And that's not surprising because our brains are wired to notice difference. So anything, a notification pinging, a squirrel running across the windowsill outside, a noise from outside, a buzz from the phone that we've got on silent in our pockets, it all distracts us from what we're doing. And I think the modern world anyway has made us all have much lower attention spans. And that's before we start taking things like ADHD into account. So given the fact that we all are very easily distracted these days, we need to account for that in our training design rather than just try and hope that it won't happen, because it will happen. So there are quite a few different things that we can do apart from the good practice, like encouraging people to switch Teams off and things if you're running a virtual course, and giving people reassurance that you're actually going to build in maybe a 5-minute break every hour or every hour and 15, so that they can check their messages. So please just put your phone out of sight. I will give you 5 minutes to check and just reassure yourself that everything's going on okay. So there's little practical things like that that we can do to build into our training. But even in terms of our design, we need to accept that people will be distracted, and we can actually lean into the fact that our brains like to be distracted. When they are distracted, it kind of refocuses us and it gives us a little bit more energy, I suppose, temporarily for the thing that has captured our attention. So a few things that I think that we can build into the design are signposts. I've always talked about having a red thread. So yes, we perhaps tell people up front, this is what we're going to cover, but you need to reiterate that frequently and say to people, so, well, we have talked about X, and now we're moving on to talk about Y. So-and-so, you said you had a question about this, so this is going to be really interesting for you. So people perk up because not only have you used someone's name, but equally you're reinforcing something that you've already mentioned. So that signpost is there and you're saying, pay attention to this. This is new. So the brain will pick up on that. I think in terms of our visual aids, in terms of our materials, in terms of our delivery, it's really important to focus on one thing at a time. And this was really brought home to me when I was training trainers, not professional trainers, but subject matter experts. So they were explaining an activity as they were giving out the handout. And then, of course, half the people in the room didn't get the instructions because they were looking at the handout, they were wondering when their handout was going to arrive, and you cannot split your attention. So one thing at a time. Do you want them to look at a slide? Do you want them to listen to what you're saying? Do you want them to read something in front of them? Do you want them to think? And if so, let's not have any other distractions in the room. So very much focus on one thing at a time. And yes, that's a facilitation tip, but we can also write that into our facilitators' notes and any trainers' guides that we produce. The brain notices change, so switching things up is a really great way to design in attention and focus. And I'm not talking about every 90 seconds, you'll make people dizzy if you switch things up all the time. But just something that will illustrate a change. So whether that is you put up a new slide and rather than reading it out, you just stay quiet and say, read the information. That's a bit different, isn't it? Or you invite them to reflect and write down 3 words. That's a little bit different. You invite them to just think of a question or share something with a partner or do something physical. Even if it's just stand up or put your hand up, or if you're training virtually, choose a GIF or use an emoji or something like that. This is different and it forces the brain to tune back in to whatever it is you're talking about. And I kind of alluded to this already, but making sure that you give people specific actions to do. Lots of short, simple, small actions. Listen to this, think about this, write this down, put your hand up. All of this is making the brain think, oh, I needed to pay attention. I was just told to do something. What was it? So yes, attention spans are lower than what they used to be. Yes, we are all distracted by things that are happening outside of work. We've all got an awful lot that we're trying to juggle in our brains, and all of that will detract from people's attention in a training session. But it doesn't mean to say that we can't gain that focus, we can't retain the attention as long as we're using a number of very simple tricks and techniques and we're using them intentionally in our design and in our delivery. So hope that's made you think. For more tips and thoughts like this, please check out the rest of the YouTube channel, the Training Designers Club YouTube channel, especially the Dear Training Designers Club videos. Do visit the website, which is www.trainingdesignersclub.co.uk, or listen to the podcast. And maybe if you feel like you want to be surrounded by practical, like-minded individuals and just get little and often support with whatever it is you're working on, why not come and join our VIP community?